Hi, everyone. Happy Thursday. Hope you guys are having a fabulous week. I am here and I have a really important message to share with you. And what's really interesting about this message is that it came up several weeks ago, maybe even last month, in a client call. And as I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about today, I there were a lot of different thoughts coming up from previous conversations I've had this week, last week, all of that. And then I remembered this message that I wanted to share with you and didn't get a chance to. So I'm super excited to share this with you. If you are joining live, please comment below and let me know you're here live. If you're watching the replay, please, post replay in the comments. But I want to talk about these three things that create massive shifts. Now, there are lots of other things, right? I talk about mindset, I talk about energy, I talk about action all the time. But in a recent client call, again, a couple months back, I was having a conversation with a client and we were discussing a particular health concern or challenge that she was having. She had some back pain, and we were talking about some of her the shifts that she was feeling and what were the things that led up to that shift. And we boiled it down to these three very specific things. And the more I started thinking about it, the more I realized that these are three things that if you apply them to your life, if you use this sort of framework, in addition to the mindset stuff and the energy stuff, your life is going to change. And I don't just mean temporarily, I mean, in the long run, it's going to change for the better. One of the comments I get often from clients is that the outcome from this kind of work is better than they ever imagined possible. Like they are living a life that is better than what they imagined. And I can't say that that's solely based on me. I think the work speaks for itself. I'm just that facilitator. But the questions, the doubts, the fear, the worry, all of those emotions that can kind of bubble up before you step into this work. Um, I hear these comments that, I don't know why I was afraid. I should have done this a long time ago. This is life changing. My life will never be the same. And so the things that I'm going to share with you today, I want you to write them down. I want you to apply them. This is free stuff, right? Like this is free coaching that if you apply it to your life, just like anything else that I share, it will make a huge difference. So let's dive into this. Are you ready for big shifts moving into, I can't believe we're going to be moving into May of 2022. The year is flying by. So here are a couple of things. If you want to create big shifts in your life in any area, and whether it's finances, health, relationships, your career, any area of your life, these three things are going to help you create that shift. Okay. Number one is to be willing to do something different. And I talk about this all the time, and I want to talk about where this idea of doing something different comes from. Very often, the doing something different idea is about, it comes about in a non-logical, non-linear way. It's not something that if you sat down and mapped out your plan, that's going to necessarily be a part of your plan. This is going to be something that strikes you as an opportunity. Someone tells you about a program, someone tells you about a book, someone tells you about a mentor or a coach or a mastermind or something that you hadn't considered before. And it's something that is drastically different than maybe what you've ever done. Or maybe the person or the thing takes on a different approach that you've never thought of. But the key here is that it's not necessarily logical or linear when you're thinking about what it is that you're doing. Okay. And I say that because there are many of us, myself included sometimes, who tend to be a little bit analytical. And because we're massive thinkers and because we often go to our mind and we go, does that make sense? Should I do X, Y, and Z? Should I, invest in this thing? Should I go take that trip? Should I? Like, we're trying to weigh the pros and cons and like really analyze it. Then we can talk ourselves out of something that can be life changing. But when you're willing to do something different and you get what I call that nudge, that idea, that spark, someone tells you about something, this opportunity pops up and you feel it, right? Like you feel it. You're not overthinking it. You're not questioning it. You're not doubting it. You're not worrying about it, but you feel it and you feel that little spark. When you're willing to do that something different, it has the potential to change your life. And what I have found, and what my clients will tell you, is that the massive shifts that they experience, the magical, miraculous moments in their lives, do not come from logic. They do not come from, this is how I'm going to play this out. I'm going to do A, B, C, and D, and then everything is going to work out. It doesn't happen like that. It happens in these little moments in between where they just happen to be in the right place at the right time. They just happen to think of something and got an idea to go online and check this out. I just talked to a client the other day who was looking for something for her property, and she was exploring all options, shopping around. And then as she was doing that, got an idea to look at this community page and found what she was looking for, like immediately. Right size, for way less money. I can't even remember, like $2, right? Like this is unheard of. But because she was willing to do something different, logic did not tell her to necessarily do that. Logic told her to go shopping, right? So be willing to do something different. Get out of the habitual, is this going to work for me? I'm going to sit and analyze it to death. I'm going to sit and, figure out, does this make sense? I'm going to try to think 5 steps ahead of this one decision. Don't worry about thinking 5 steps ahead. If you feel called to do it now, no, I'm not saying don't be irresponsible, right? We're adults. But I want you to be willing to do these different things. Do something different for your family. Do something different for your health. Do something different for your children and your partner and your business when you feel called to do that, right? Because it's those ideas that are going to create these massive shifts, right? So that's number one. And I really want you to remember that this is not a logical or necessarily linear thing. I talk about this all the time. The universe doesn't always operate on logic. And I have found that the most miraculous, incredible moments of my life have not happened based on logic, right? They came about in these seemingly random occurrences that I was willing to do something different. I was willing to do something that was outside of my norm, okay? So number one, do something different. Number two is really about your mindset and your trust, right? So know that that shift that we're talking about, the shift that you desire in your finances, in your business, in your health, in your relationship is coming. Now, there's a caveat to this. This does not mean that you link the shift to that specific doing something different, okay? So you don't want to tie any kind of expectation to, I'm going to do something different because LaMisha told me to, and then I'm going to trust that that thing that I just did is going to deliver the shift that I want. Example, you need to make $5,000 because you have a random bill that came in, and you get this idea to do something different. You put it out there, and then you go, yep, I did that something different, and I trust that that one thing is going to lead to the $5,000 I need. No, the doing something different may be multiple things, may not just be one thing. It may be you feel called to do this thing, and then you feel called to email this person, and you feel called to reach out, right? Lots of different things. I'm going to read your comments here. Laura says, I felt called to join the local school board, so I went out, got the signatures, and am officially on the ballot. That's awesome. I would have never been this person who did this, and it has zero connection to my goals or dreams, really. Yes, at least not that I can see at this point. And that is the trust, right? Like trusting that there's a reason you felt called to do that, but also trusting that the shifts that you actually want to create and to make in your life are going to happen. Like that is a mindset thing. That is trust, that is faith, that is knowing that you have the power to create these changes in your life. And when I'm working with clients, the thing that is most important is their trust that the desire that they have, whether it's a business desire, financial desire, health, whatever we're working on, that shift is happening, right? It doesn't have to be that this one journal assignment that I give is going to create, changes forevermore. No, I will tell you that my work works. It definitely works. But it's not about tying these little steps to the specific outcome. And we have got to get out of that because we end up incredibly disappointed by all of that, right? So being willing to do something different and maybe multiple somethings, right? Key, number one. And then trusting that your shift, the shift that you want to create in your life, is already unfolding. It is happening. It is coming. It is unfolding. It is on the way. It is a sure thing. Like that, beyond any other belief that you have, is the best belief that you can adopt. Because when you know that, you're not really worried about the intricacies of all these little things that you're doing. You're not like hyper focused on this one thing you're doing, putting all your eggs in one basket, thinking that that's the thing that's going to change everything. It's part of it. It's like a puzzle, right? So I want you to know that the changes you want to make in your life or in your business or in your community are a sure thing, right? It's certain, it's done, but do not link it to that specific doing something different, okay? Now, this last one, I'm going to be honest, is not my favorite. It's not my favorite truth, but it is a truth, okay? And if you've been around me for a while, you know I am not a very patient person. I've talked about this. I'm like a control freak, recovering control freak. So this last one is about being patient, right? And having the willingness to give it, your shift, time to unfold, right? So if we go back to number two is trusting that it's unfolding. But then when you give it the time and space it needs, it's like, and I just had a call last night where I talked about this. It's not about putting the timeline and saying, by that deadline, if it doesn't happen by that deadline, then it doesn't work. No, it works. Because when you know and you're certain and you have trust and you have true faith, then it really doesn't matter when it happens, right? The more faith you have, the more trust you have, the faster it tends to happen. But you have to be willing to just be with it. It's like someone saying, hey, the check's in the mail. I had a client say, it's like when you book a vacation, you put it on your calendar, you know it's a done deal. You get excited for it. You don't question it. Maybe now you probably check flights, double check that your flight's on time and all that. But you don't typically go back and go, is it going to happen? Is it going to happen? I'm worried. Like you don't have to check in with it. You just know that you've booked it and it's done. So I want you to start treating the shifts in your life as a done deal, right? It's done. I trust it. I know it's unfolding. And stop keeping score of all the ins and outs of things that are happening right now and letting them convince you that it's not unfolding and it's not working. And I'm just going to be honest. This isn't always easy for me, right? I've gotten so much better at it, but we are human beings and we're surrounded by science all day long. And science tells us like what you observe is real, what you see, like you have to make sense of it. And so we tend to tell stories about what's happening. This thing that's happening or not happening must mean this about me, or it must mean that's not the right way, or it must mean something is broken, right? And it doesn't always have to mean that, but I want you to have pure trust and faith in your ability to have and do those things that you actually want, those shifts that you actually want to make this month, this year, and beyond are possible. Not just possible, they're already unfolding. And the more you know that, and the more you are tuned into that, and the more I won't say disconnected, but detached you are to when and how and all the details of it, then you get to be, right? You get to trust, you get to be in that space. And that's really the key. Like, that's one of the biggest challenges when I'm working with clients. Typically, the areas that are the challenge are being willing to do something different. That's usually the moment that they connect with me. That's the doing something different for them generally. But it's maintaining the trust and keeping that patience alive in spite of what's going on around them, in spite of the moment to moment like things. It's almost as if, depending on where you live, where I live now, it's warm all the time. But when I used to live in the Midwest, it's like those false springs that would happen. Probably what you're getting now. It's like 30s to 40s. And then on the weekend, it's 80 and it's amazing. And you're like, great, spring is coming. And then 2 days later, it's back to 30s and 40s. Instead of riding that roller coaster of it's working, it's not working, spring is coming, it's never going to come, like that kind of roller coaster, it's just knowing that things are unfolding. Spring is coming, the weather is warming up. These little blips on the, radar don't mean a whole lot. You just hold on to that faith. So I hope that these three things are helpful. I hope that they, have you thinking about the shifts that you want to make in your life in a different way. And just like anything else I share this with you because I know it works. I share it with you because I apply it. I use it with clients. I see how it works. And I want more people to understand that we actually have way more power than we realize. And my job is not just working with people, one-on-one. That's amazing. And I love that. But that's why I get on here twice a week, right? This is why I talk to you twice a week, to jump in here and to share these kinds of things. So I hope that these three things are helpful. If you didn't catch all of them, please make sure you go back and watch them and share, your thoughts, your comments, your questions in the comment section below. And, if you are in the space of it's time for me to do something different, what I'm doing isn't working, I've been on the same sort of treadmill of life, trying these things over and over, and you feel that nudge, and this really resonates for you, then I want to invite you to reach out. Let's have a conversation, right? The work that I do, and I will say it again, is transformative on so many levels that it even surprises me sometimes. I had a client say recently that this work saved her life. And I don't take those kinds of things lightly, right? Feels really, really big when people say things like that. But this work, that's what it does. It changes your life for the better. So if you're interested in having a chat, seeing if we're a good fit to work together, I will include the link to my calendar. You can book a free consultation there. I'm also going to include a link to my email list. I know that one less thing we need is more emails, but if you're looking for more inspiring content like this, tips, tools, all that stuff, then make sure that you get on my email list because I share that about 2 to 3 times a week with my email list. So I hope this is helpful. Feel free to share this video if it was helpful for you, if you know it would be helpful for someone else. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. And Laura, I adore you as well. So thank you for joining me. And again, I hope you guys have a wonderful Thursday and a great weekend. I will be back on Monday with a mindset tip live on Monday afternoon. So I will see you then. Thank you guys. Bye.